Okay, guys, I want to talk about a real quick tournament I fished this past weekend with a good friend of mine. We fished it on Lake Jordan, Carolina Bass Challenge tournament. I usually don't fish team tournaments. I'm focusing on the BFLs this year, but a good friend of mine, his team partner fell out on him, so he asked me if I could come up there and give him a hand and stand in for his partner. So really stiff competition. There are 105 boats. We ended up coming in 5th place. We brought in 22.05. So you bring in over 22 pounds, you end up in 5th place. You know there's pretty tough anglers. I'd say conservatively, the best anglers in North Carolina and probably some of the best in the Southeast were represented in that tournament. And we got on a really good pattern. You bring in 22 pounds, you're on something. And what we did, it was April 4th, so pre-spawn. I mean, I know there's bucks within inches of the beds. They're wanting to come up. It felt like the entire lake was ready to explode. And this is 2-3 days after the tournament. I'll bet you they're moving up right now. I mean, it was that close. But what we were doing was we were on the main lake, close to spawning areas, and those girls were right in that, 3 to 7, 8 feet of water, moving up and down on this shallow structure that we were fishing. And it was just a constant reload all day long. And so we were going back and forth and running through a couple areas that fit that same profile. And we just kept, we didn't catch 15 bass, 20 bass. We called twice during the day. So we didn't catch a ton, but they were all really good fish. So we were hitting the right places. What we were doing was no jerk baits or soft moving baits. They didn't want anything sitting still. They would only seem like they only wanted to hit moving baits. And one of the baits that really performed well was a Series 3 in Green Gizzard Shad. Green Gizzard Shad, by far the best color on the market today. It's got that beautiful green top to it and a little bit of a clear side. You can probably see how nice and clear that is. That checkered olive green type top. The longer you throw this color, the better it gets. The more natural it looks. Green Gizzard Shad from Strike King, Series 3. And that was the lure that was getting down to the depths when I caught, I think our 4th bass I caught on this was a real solid 4.5, and it was only because it was a little bit deeper off that structure. The bait that did most of the damage for me was, and no surprise if anybody's ever seen in my other videos, is a KBD 1.5 Green Gizzard Shad, same color as that Series 3. Was just wearing them out. Matter of fact, something funny happened to me on the water. Happens to me almost every time I fish with somebody new. Is I'll be throwing this Green Gizzard Shad, this 1.5, and we'll be talking about it after the first catch, second catch. By the 3rd catch, they're saying, "Hey man, what was that color you were throwing there again?" And it happened on Saturday, and so it makes a believer out of people. Trust me. So the one thing I wanted to show you though that helped us put the last keeper in the boat and then call twice was we left that main lake spot and we ran up into a real predominant and heavy hit creek. I knew there were some real good spots up in there, but there was a definite stain in the water up there, much more so than the main lake. So when we got up there, I switched out to this blackback white 1.5, but it just seemed like, it's kind of like that in-between stain. It looks worse on the top than it really is, and you get down below it, and I think this was just too overpowering. And so what I did is I tied on a new color from Strike King. If you can see this, it's called Natural Shad. You see it's not opaque. You can't see through it. It's a solid color, but it has some nice faded green on the side with not a heavy black, but it's just a little bit less dramatic than this white black back. And this thing, I didn't catch anything on this. Tied this guy on, caught 3 fish back to back. It's called Natural Shad. It's a brand new color for 2015 from Strike King, and she's gonna go in the lineup for me for sure. I just like it how it's not quite as aggressive as that white black back. Great for heavy stain, but you got to be careful. Sometimes it's just too much. So that's how we did it. We stayed on the fish all day long, and were throwing the moving baits that they really wanted to hit. We only caught one on a spinnerbait. We thought we were going to crush them on a spinnerbait because it was so windy, but they just didn't want those blades. It was more of a shad bite. And Strike King Series 3 and 1.5s were the deal. So stay tuned. Got a couple more videos coming. My first BFL is this coming weekend, April 11th on Kerr. I'll have an update for you as soon as we're done. We'll see you then.